So this is Zubin Behramkamdin, who's currently working as a legal counsel at the Bombay High Court and has been at this profession for over 25 years. So Zubin, can you give us a brief of your career so far and what did you study?
Okay. So after I finished my schooling, I got my BCom degree from Sydenham College. And after I did that, I got my LLB degree, which is Bachelor of Law from the Government Law College. And while I was in Government Law College, I was also interning and working at a reputed solicitor's firm. And after I graduated and got my law degree, I joined the senior counsel's chamber because I wanted to do counsel practice, which is basically arguing in court. And that's what I've been doing for the last so many years. I practice in a number of courts, mainly in the Bombay High Court, sometimes in the Supreme Court, and sometimes in other tribunals like the NCLT, which is the Company Law Tribunal, where company matters are taken up. I also do a lot of arbitration matters, both as a counsel for some of the parties and sometimes even as an arbitrator, which I enjoy.
Great, that's very interesting. So what is your main motivation to practice as a lawyer?
Okay. So I got into the profession because I was really interested in it and really wanted to do this. Um, I was not very sure till quite late as to what I wanted to do. But eventually, when I thought about it, I realized that this was a job which I thought was interesting for me and would be challenging for me. And so that's how I decided to take it up. I had nobody in the profession, so I didn't really have a first-hand account of what the job would involve. But I was willing to take a chance and find out. Because I thought if the work really interests me, then I knew I would make my way forward in whatever way.
That's
So,
very interesting.
yes, so that's how I
Yeah.
decided to get into it. And what else did you want to know in this question?
Nothing
Okay.
else. Oh,
So that's how I
okay,
decided to
so
start.
yeah, okay. So how has COVID affected your practice and how are you working now?
Okay, so COVID has affected the practice of all lawyers. Some, of course, much more drastically than others. And of course, there are some very brave souls, including some very large firms, who have made statements saying that our practice is almost unaffected. But I think we can take that with a pinch of salt. Um, as far as I am concerned personally, everyone knows that the High Court has been physically shut since the lockdown, but hearings are going on online. So there are virtual court hearings which are proceeding, and therefore I practice from home in the virtual court. Obviously, the virtual court doesn't function in the same way that the physical court did function. So, for example, the Bombay High Court, for example, has hearings only on certain days, not every day. And even on those days, it doesn't have all the judges hearing all matters at the same time, like it did when it was physically open. So the quantum of work is much less, and the matters which are being taken up are much fewer. And this has obviously affected all lawyers. I must tell you that though I am a litigating lawyer, which is I appear in court, and I don't do the work of a solicitor or person who drafts agreements and other documents, that work has also been affected, as has almost every profession and every business has been affected. And so work is much less. But this is the way we are managing, basically by working from home and by appearing online. It does appear to me that the Supreme Court and the High Court are not going to open very soon for physical hearings, even though the lower courts are supposed to be open for physical hearings. I say supposed to be open because even there, I think there are matters are not necessarily going on. They are officially open, but sometimes they are shut down because some cases are found, or sometimes cases of COVID, I mean, or sometimes matters just don't go on. It's physically open, but most matters just get adjourned. So this is how we are coping. I must admit and say that as far as arbitrations are concerned, they are proceeding quite well online. This is probably because it's easier to do an arbitration online than to do a virtual court matter online. And arbitrations are proceeding online the world over. So it's not just in Bombay or in India, it's all over the world that online arbitrations are proceeding quite well.
Sorry. Yeah. So arbitrations.
Yes. So that's how we're managing with the profession just now.
Okay. So. mm,
Of course,
uh,
there are a lot of other things like if you meet a client now, it has to be virtual meeting. We use platforms like Google MS Teams, etc., to talk to your client, to exchange documents, to actually do everything which we used to do physically sitting across the
yeah.
table. We now do online. So it gets a little,
Okay.
it needs a little getting used to, especially by some of us who were not used to doing it using technology earlier. I was quite used to it, so it's easy, little easier for me.
So it's basically forced you to use the technology.
It's forced the profession to do that. Yes.
Do you think the using technology is going to stay, or do you think it'll go
No,
everything?
according to me, it is going to stay. It should have. I mean, we should have been doing all this much earlier. Some of us have been, as I said, been using part of technology, but others have just not. But frankly, we should have been using it much more so that when we were in the lockdown, we would have been quite used to appearing like this. But I guess now the profession is being forced to get used to this.
Okay.
And
So
even in times,
yeah,
even in
sorry.
pre-COVID times, there were there were often the necessity to use this technology. So if parties are far apart, you needn't always travel. If a witness was in Australia, for example, and he was old or he had some other difficulty in traveling, you could always cross-examine him online. So those procedures were being used earlier, but they were used very infrequently. They were not used commonly. And I think that even after COVID, therefore, technology will be used much more.
All right. So technology is here to stay. So what are the skill sets students who are interested in becoming a lawyer should begin developing?
Okay, so the um, law as a profession, from what I have seen, and now I speak from experience. I'm not talking based on any so-called knowledge or expertise. Otherwise, I'm telling you purely from my experience. I have noticed that uh, people with different skill sets or people with different predispositions or leanings have all done very well in the profession if they really want to, which means there is no one particular type of person who succeeds in this profession. You just have to have a will to work a little hard and an interest in the subject, and you will probably do well. One of the reasons I say this is that you don't. There is a lot of scope to be to be different kinds of lawyers in today's world. You don't just have to be like me, a litigating lawyer or someone who stands up in court and argues. You can be a lawyer who drafts agreements, and you could be a lawyer who works somewhere online. You could be a lawyer doing all kinds of things, and so therefore there's no one particular skill set in that sense what you need. What I do feel you need is you need to have a genuine interest in the profession. You need to have a genuine interest in current affairs, in topics. You should have a mind which is inquisitive, which likes to debate, which likes to think about issues, because that's the only way you will be interested in whatever law you're practicing too. So you need it's more a question of attitude rather than skill sets. The skill set you will and the skills you will acquire along the way. There will be people to help you. There'll be teachers. There'll be seniors. There'll be senior lawyers. So that people will help you along the way. What you really need is the right attitude, the love for the job, and the inquisitive and inquiring mind. And once you have that, the rest of it will really follow. It's not so difficult.
That sounds great. So what advice would you like to give? What guidance would you like to give some students who are looking to pursue career as a lawyer?
Yeah, so I think it's a great profession, and I would encourage kids who want to do it, or young people who would like to follow this profession. The only cautionary note I can give them is that it's a profession where a lot of children are now trying to get in, and there is a huge amount of supply, therefore. So, if you're going to get in, you should know that there is quite a lot of competition these days. And now things have, of course, become rather streamlined in the sense that you have all these colleges, your Indian law institutes, you have a common law admission test, and students who are getting in therefore have a roadmap which is quite clear and defined in front of them, and they should therefore just focus and try to get into the best college they can, and then thereafter just progress to a good placement and a good job and move on from there. So you just need to be focused, and you need to then achieve your goals, whatever goals you have set yourself.
Okay. So
And it's a
thank
profession
you.
which requires
Yeah,
some
sorry.
amount of hard work also. So you have to be willing to give that.
Okay. So thank you, Zubin. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so
Welcome.
much
You're very
for your
welcome.
insights.
It was enjoyable
Okay.
speaking to you. Thank you.